Good morning and welcome to More Tea Minister. My name is Ian. Today is the first video in a new playlist. I'm going to be looking basically at gifts, teas that members of my family and friends have been kind enough to buy for me. The story behind this particular tea is that my mother-in-law was at the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh and was needing to buy something and thought, oh, there's a range of teas here and items. Let's buy something for Ian. So thank you very much. The tea we're going to be looking at is Botanics Breakfast Tea, Royal Botanic Garden and Edinburgh. What's intriguing about this tea is that it was commissioned, blended especially for the Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh by Brodies, who are an institution in coffee and tea blending and vending throughout Scotland and much further afield, but they're an absolute institution up here. And so it's very splendid that you have two institutions sort of working together to produce this tea. I'm also intrigued because I'm a sucker for very nice packaging, especially a tea caddy, and that's what we have here in this sort of off-gold packaging. So we're going to take a close look at the packaging, and then we're going to come back in part 3 to take a look at the tea. I should point out that this is 125 grams and it's 50 tea bags. So we're going to do a little bit of careful brewing of this to try and do the tea as much justice as we can. See you in part 2. So here we are looking at the packaging for Botanics Breakfast Tea. You see in the label this rather lovely illustration of what I assume is a twig and some leaves and a flower from a tea plant. It's also from the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh. It's a package of a caddy of 50 tea bags and it's 125 grams. There is one sticker here. There's a sort of little crest here, which I believe is the same crest as here, connected with the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh. If I turn this over, you'll see that the sort of the label part of the sticker continues with these rather nice crests onto the back of the tin. And if I turn this round, it comes back to being a larger sticker. Botanics Breakfast Tea, and then there's some explanations of the fact that this tea was blended and packed by Brodies, especially for the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh. There's some details there about the fact that it's a black tea and it consists of a blend of Assam, Kenyan and Ceylon tea, in other words, Indian, Kenyan and Sri Lankan tea. And right at the bottom, you have the website of the Royal Botanic Garden in Edinburgh. So all in all, I think it's a rather lovely bit of packaging. I like the colour of the tin, I like the size of the tin, and although I haven't opened it yet, I think it's going to be quite a substantial tin. We'll open it when we get round to brewing the tea. So there we go, back to the brewing. Hello again and welcome to part 3 of our video, where we are going to review and sample this Botanics Breakfast Tea. The fact that it's called a breakfast tea should give us some indication there's going to be quite a bit of body and strength to this tea and a hearty flavour profile. I was looking a little more detail at what Brodies are arguing that the combination of Assam, Kenyan and Ceylon tea will contribute. The Assam is a strong, bright colour with a rich taste. There's always a bit of malt in Assam tea, black tea, I find. I don't know what to expect from Kenyan tea, although it adds a brisk flavour. And Ceylon, well, some Ceylon teas add malt, some add almost a mintiness. This one is rich and mellow and a slightly citrusy flavour, so that's going to be an interesting combination. So I have one of their tea bags here, which is about 2.5 grams of tea. Now, of course, we're not worrying too much about the standard ratios here of tea to water, although I've worked out that each tea bag contains about 2.5 grams of tea. So if I was minded to gong through this, it would be possible to do so. And because it's a tea bag, we don't want to use, let it steep for too long or use too hot a temperature. So I put the water at 90 degrees, 2.5 gram tea bag, and it's in this transparent jug so that we can see it brewing. and maybe kind of gauge by the colour and the smell when it's brewed enough. So let's give this a standard 250, which would be about there, I reckon. I'm assuming that it's for a cup. There's no brewing instructions, so I'm treating it as if it's the tea for a cup rather than for a mug. If it was a mug, I would simply add, naturally, up to about 400 mils of water. So already we're at a kind of orange bronze colour. The smell, there's a lot of sweetness to that. There is some Assam quality, there's some herbal quality. I'm glad the water's lower. There's no sort of acridness that you might expect given how fine the tea leaves are. It's sweet and fruity. I'd say that's what it's contributing. There's still, I can see, you might not be able to, there's still, because it isn't being stirred, there's extra colour coming out, but it's really coming in at the bottom here. So I've got, these tongs are really to take the tea bag out, but I might use them to give this a final stir. And we'll see what this tea is like. That's probably about a minute, maybe a bit less. But I really want to do it justice, and I don't want to overbrew it, but that's already, yeah, that's spot on. A very rich red bronze colour. So, floral, slight bit of fruit. It's pretty rich. So let's see what it's like as a brew. I think I mentioned I was tempted to gong through this, but I haven't actually checked whether there is a loose leaf tea version of this. If it is, that might be worth gong throughing. As always, it's the sweetness that comes out here. Well, that's less, even for a minute, it's a little thin. The flavour's falling off, but only slightly, so I think that was about right. Any longer, it would definitely be oversteeped. There is that citrus, that's definitely coming through. There's a bit of maltiness, I would say, just lingering on the palate. And it's refreshing. It doesn't seem very drying on the palate. I'm glad I kept that at 90. Any higher, and I don't think... You might get a bit more malt, but you'd start to risk overbrewing it. So, it's a teabag tea, but I still want to take it seriously. It is a gift. That was the other reason I wanted to take it seriously and review it. It's a lovely combination of flavours. There's a bit of malt, there's fruit, there is a bit of citrus. It's a tea bag. It's very easy to brew. If you don't have a temperature-controlled kettle, let the water cool a little and really don't oversteep it. Just give it about a minute. Is it readily available? Well, it's specifically for the Royal Botanic Garden Edinburgh. So again, we will leave that point to one side. That's not really fair. Is it easy to brew? It's tea bag. As long as you let it cool down a bit, that's not a problem. And don't oversteep it. And does it taste good? Yes, for something that is, I don't want to say mass-produced, that's not fair, it's a special commission. For something that is for, well, it's for somebody who wants a tea bag, somebody who wants a gift, and it's not meant sort of, how can I put this? I'm not trying to sound snobbish, I'm trying to do the opposite. It's meant to be accessible to everyone. That's what I'm getting at. The blend flavours is accessible to everyone for a breakfast tea. It's lovely. For breakfast tea, it's got everything you want. Maybe brew it a touch longer if you want even more oomph, but I wouldn't make it any hotter. So as a breakfast tea blend, it's lovely, it's very accessible, and it's not, and it behaves itself when you're brewing. So with all of that to one side, 2 out of 2. So happy steeping and God bless.